I'm Gary Nickerson,
And I'm Quinn Taggart.
and this is Outside My Window. Our guest today is Janice Amirault. She is a holistic nutritional consultant and holistic cancer coach. Her interest in wellness and healthy food preparation stems from her own personal wellness journey, and she became living proof that lifestyle choices can determine the outcome of our health and future. Her work is based on what science has proven that over 90% of illness and disease can be eliminated through environmental and lifestyle choices. Now, over the last decade, she has helped hundreds of women lose weight, look amazing, and live well by ditching sugar. She transformed her own life and now brings her science backed approach to women worldwide. Janice, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me.
So, first off, can you give us an idea of what a holistic nutritional consultant is and does?
Sure. My definition of a holistic nutritional consultant is someone who looks at the body, mind, spirit approach to well-being, and basically looking at the big picture, not just the complaint that the client might have, but what's going on in the entire body. And as opposed to targeting the one problem or the one complaint and offering kinds of band-aid solution, I might be looking at the client might look at one thing, and I might say, okay, well, let's find out where the root cause of that is. Is that rooted in your beliefs about food from your past? Is it rooted in your hormones, even though that's not the complaint that you have? Where is it rooted? And what can we do so that you can get well and feel better overall, not just to put a Band-Aid on the problem at hand?
So, what's the difference between a nutritionist that a person might see through the provincial healthcare system and a holistic nutritionist?
So, first of all, it's interesting in Canada, depending on where you live, what province, a person who has the same credentials as I have in another province can call themselves a nutritionist. Here, I can't do that. So, in some places, it's exactly the same, but I guess we are quite different than a dietitian, where we do look at the whole body and not just the one problem. That's the biggest difference. As far as the approach and what we would do to or suggest, it would be again not just targeting that one problem. So it would be a whole body approach to maybe balance hormones, balance your thyroid, so that your blood pressure will improve. Let's have a look at why your cholesterol is high. Maybe it's something to do with circulation. Maybe it's something to do with hormones again, or maybe it's your thyroid. So our approach is I have an intake form that helps identify that, and then we target what that imbalance is, and then that resolves the problem.
So, Janice, just give us a little background, if we can, about how you got to where you are today.
Sure. Thanks for asking that. The reason I do what I do is because of my own health journey. I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome several years ago, and I was chronically fatigued, and I was trying to get some answers, and I was labeled as having chronic fatigue, but and told there was nothing that could be done. Basically, I was lazy. That was the words of the specialist that I saw here in Nova Scotia, and I was lazy, just needed to exercise, and my life would resume back to normal. But I found out that the reason for that, because I went to see a holistic practitioner, and they were able to identify what the actual underlying problem was to the fatigue. I knew I was fatigued, and it was obvious, but why? And that's they were looking at me as the whole body and what's going on, what's the underlying root cause to that. And when I discovered what that was, or when they discovered what that was, I made changes to my diet to get my life back. I went from not being able to work, not being able to hold. I was a cosmetology instructor, and I couldn't stand up long enough and put my arms up long enough to show my students how to cut hair. I had to quit my job. And once I changed my diet, I got my energy back, and over time, I got my life back. So that's along that path, I realized that we have a choice in what happens to us, and there are some things we can do to change the outcome of our future, and that's what I did.
So is holistic nutrition vegetarian or vegan based, or is it just organics?
No, it's not even all of that. It can be vegan, it can be vegetarian diet, it can be the right type of paleo diet or the right type of keto diet. It can be organic or not, but holistic nutrition is basically, I guess, if you have to put a term to it, it's real food, and that's where so many, like in my bio, when you read my bio, it mentions that up to 95% of of our illnesses today are lifestyle choices. And when we look at what we're eating not eating real food. We're not eating holistically. We're not eating the food that fuels our body. We're eating food that goes against what the body wants. So when you eat whole food, real food, that's what's going to allow the body to heal. And yes, some people will do much better on a vegan diet. Some people will do much better on a diet that includes a little bit of animal protein, and some people can find a very happy balance there. It depends on their goals.
Do you think that a lot of the food allergies that we're seeing nowadays is connected to all of this? Is it because we've been exposed to and brought up on a lot of these processed foods?
100%. We're not meant to eat if you take any packaged cereal, just for an example, because that's one I tend to pick on a lot. Any packaged cereal, you basically can't really understand the ingredients in it past maybe corn or wheat. It's all chemicals. And the body doesn't know what to do with them. The body just can't break those chemicals down. It's not meant to be inside of us. And it causes allergies, it causes irritation, it causes skin eruptions, it causes brain disturbances. The body just doesn't know how to cope with those toxins.
I've always said if I can't pronounce it, I shouldn't be eating it.
Yeah, agree, yeah.
Since we seem to have been connecting the dots on this in the last while, why are they still allowed to put that stuff into our food?
Isn't that the big question? It's, in my opinion, it's because it's all money. It's all money driven. It's lobbying the right people and push to get the product sold. It's big money that's talking, and unfortunately, we're at the hands and at the mercy of those people, and they don't really care. And so we have food that's killing our children. And if you look at the health of today's children, it's appalling, really. Children under the age of 7 are on medications. They have so many problems. They have gut issues, they have depression issues, and look at the food they're eating. An adult body might be able to handle it a little bit better, but a child's body is just overrun with sugar and with chemicals that are never meant to be inside of us. So, unfortunately, do I say the powers that be are not looking at the big picture. They're looking at votes and money.
So if I entered into some sort of a lack of a better phrase, detoxification ritual of some sort, what kind of a timeline is there for me to kind of get clear of all of this damage? And is it possible to get clear of it all?
You can detoxify fairly quickly if you go all in. There's all different levels of detoxing, and it depends on what a person is willing to do. But our body never stops cleansing, detoxing. Our liver is supposed to do that for us on a continual basis. And there are some people who do what I do who don't believe the liver needs any support. But because of the way we eat today, our liver is working overtime. And so to answer your question, how long it would take, it really does depend on what's going on in your body and what you're going to do on a regular basis. A lot of people think that they can embark on a detox primarily to lose weight, and as soon as they get to their goal, they can go back to what they were doing before. And it just doesn't work that way. In order to maintain what you've done, you have to keep doing, eating the way that got you there. And the body will always continue to detox. The liver detoxes every single thing we breathe in, we put on our skin, and everything we eat. So we can get, for myself, I was able to get back on track after. I noticed a big difference after 3 months, more after 6 months, but after 2 years, I was, feeling like myself again. But I was in a really bad situation. Some people it would take a lot less time, and others it could take a lot longer. But in historic times, if you look at the history, everyone was detoxing all the time. Those sweat houses, the bath houses, the mud packs, all those ways of detoxing and fasting. Those are ways that the body helps itself along. But it's a continual thing. You're never really over detoxing. You do what you can to push yourself along and help the body work the best way that it can. It's like a well-oiled machine. When you give it what it wants, it will continue to work and perform well.
Janice, we know how bad sugar is for us, but we consume a lot. Why are we consuming so much? And in what form? Is it, soda pop, or is it candy or other packaged goods?
We do eat, as a nation, we eat way too much sugar, and I think that a lot of it is in, it is in candy, it is in pop, but it's also in those cereals I was talking about, and it's in the salad dressings, and it's in the bread, and it's in, of course, the chocolate and any candies and things. But there is sugar, added sugar to anything in a package or a box, like crackers and even, savory things. You'll find sugar, and it's really amazing when you start to add it all up, how much sugar we are eating. The recommended, I was looking at some research to see if there's any changes, but it's recommended that women don't eat any more than 25 grams or 6 teaspoons of sugar, and men 9 teaspoons, and that's no more than that much. And the latest statistic I was able to find was that the average person is eating 76 grams of sugar a day, or 19 teaspoons. So men should have no more than 9, and women no more than 6. So we are eating twice as much sugar as recommended, and that is, again, the maximum we should be eating. And that's a pretty scary statistic. So it's no wonder that we don't have, as a nation, we are not healthy people. And that's no wonder that there's so much obesity. And of course, this is an addictive product. It's just as addictive, or some people will say sugar is more addictive than cocaine. And the argument is, well, it's in everything. But going back to the question about what kind of food a person might have to eat if they want to get healthier, you won't find sugar in that type or in that volume when you choose real food. Sure, there'll be sugar in your apple or your banana, but that's not the sugar that we're worried about. The sugar that we're worried about is all those chemical sweeteners that are making up a large part of the North American diet. So, and it's killing people. That's what it comes down to.
I mean, your daily allotment seems like one can of pop or one bottle of pop and you're done.
Yeah, there's lattes that, I won't mention where, but these ice caps and all of those types of drinks that have well over the recommended per day. And I'll give you a short example. A few years back, a client of mine had to have surgery, and she had taken a picture of her breakfast because she couldn't believe what she was being given in the hospital. And so I said, do you mind if I just kind of calculate the sugar grams in this and post it on Facebook? So sure enough, she was happy with that, and I did it. And without one little muffin that I couldn't really find online how much that might be, because it was a homemade thing, but the rest of the food was all packaged products. It was easy for me to find all the details about those foods, and it was over 64 grams of sugar that her breakfast at the hospital was providing her with. And she had brought her own food and refused to eat that, which was a smart move. But, this is what we're facing, where we're being told that this, juice pack is good for you, and this little box of cereal is good for you. You're, part of a nutritious breakfast. Pop-Tarts are part of a nutritious breakfast, it says on the label, I believe, but they're not. But that's the misleading information. And then we think, everything on that tray is healthy because marketing makes sure that we think that. We're brainwashed into believing that these are real foods and that they're actually good for us.
At one point, some of the commercials from days of old, promoted smoking as a thing. But I mean,
right.
We've made changes and for the good, I think, in some cases over the years. Are we headed in that direction here, or are we stagnant, or even worse, going backwards?
Well, I think we're when you talk about smoking, it's interesting because those vintage pictures is, your doctor recommends smoking this to keep your baby weight, to keep your pregnancy weight at a certain weight, or to ease delivery. Like, I've seen it all. It's appalling. But what we're seeing now, people like Do What I Do, who are so passionate about helping men and women change their diets, we know the damage it's doing. We're seeing it. Just like some of the pioneers of trying to prove that smoking was toxic. And it took a long time. I think it took over 5,000 peer-reviewed reports before they changed the smoking label. And so we're in the process of doing that now when it comes to food. But the same as with smoking, unfortunately, we lost a lot of people along the way due to smoking, where a lot of deaths could have been prevented, the same as right now, where if the government took care of getting rid of these foods, we could make people a lot healthier. And of course, education helps that as well. So I think that the movement is there, and people are the consumers are a bit smarter now, but it's interesting because some people don't see the comparison to the smoking and the food because they think, oh, that was back then, it was so long ago, and they almost laugh because it's kind of funny that, can you imagine being promoting cigarettes for an easy labor? But we're getting that on the boxes of our cereals and our packaged goods now. Get more energy with this Pop-Tart kind of thing, and it's just as appalling and sadly, you could laugh at it if it wasn't so sad. So I think that there is a movement. It's slow, and again, we're losing a lot of people along the way. Not just elderly people, and I don't mean just. Actually, the elderly, they had a better start to life than people half their age, so they're living well. They're living better. The people in the middle, who are maybe our age, are the ones who are so sick because we didn't get as good a start. And then the kids nowadays are getting a worse start to life. So we're seeing illness younger and younger.
Janice, what other ingredients, additives other than sugar should we be paying more attention to?
Well, that's a great question. And just because of sugar, it's really important to be very aware of other names for sugar, because this is a gimmick that the food companies are using to get away with the people so that they can sell more products. And so I don't know how many names for sugar there are nowadays, but I would like to mention that if, first of all, honey and maple syrup are sugar. And yes, they're a little bit healthier than white sugar, but if you're eating tons of honey or maple syrup, it's no better for you. So you might see a product saying, sugar-free, but it's loaded with honey. Then that's not a good choice. But we're seeing beet sugar, we're seeing raw cane sugar, that's white sugar. Brown sugar is just white sugar with food coloring. Corn syrup sounds kind of healthy, but it's just actually it's more toxic than sugar. So we have, just in the ingredients, it would be smart for the consumer to learn other names for sugar when they're looking through, like monk fruit is a very popular one right now, and agave, very popular, healthy, supposedly, quote unquote. The other ingredients that are very toxic, and a lot of people have dealt with this, is MSG. That's a big one, and that's monosodium glutamate, and that is typically found in processed foods. Chinese foods, maybe what we would think about, the non-authentic Chinese food that we would get here. Very toxic. A lot of people have an allergy to that, very severe. And those are the two that come to my mind right now. We get a lot of fillers in our food. So, if someone is being a bit more smart about what they're putting in their grocery cart, like you said earlier, if you can't pronounce it, maybe you shouldn't buy that product. If you really don't understand the words you're reading, and it sounds more like you're in science class or chemistry class, then those are the foods that maybe you should stay away from. And just to mention, I noticed a lot of clients and people in general are looking at the nutrition label of the food to see how many carbs it has, because carbs have gotten a really bad name. But they should be more focused on the ingredients. And that's where you'll see, 3 or 4 different types of sugar listed on a box of cereal or a cracker or a cookie or a frozen egg roll. All of it. It's all, they're loaded with chemicals. So, yeah, sodium, MSG, and sugar are the ones. plus all those ones that are you can't pronounce. That's when the red flags should come up.
You know that old adage, everything in moderation, but there are some things that we really shouldn't be putting into our bodies, right?
I agree. And the thing about that old adage is moderation. What is moderation? That's different for one person than it is for another. If a dessert with every meal is what is considered moderation, then I think the definition needs to change. A lot of people are using that so that they can eat whatever they want, and then of course with that comes, well, I'm not going to deny myself of X, Y, Z, and so I'm going to eat this 5 times a week. Plus, I'm going to eat that other food 5 times a week. Plus, I'm going to eat that. So the moderation is not happening.
On June 30th, an announcement was made by the Honorable Jean-Yves Duclos, the Minister of Health, that new nutrition labeling regulations for packaged foods are going to come into effect to help us make informed food choices. The regulations are going to require a new symbol to be displayed on the front of packaged foods that are high in things like, saturated fat and sugars and sodium and that kind of thing. The manufacturers have until the 1st of January of 2026 to change their labels and comply with that new requirement. It's about 4 years old. 4 years old. So, having said all that, we've known for a long time that these are bad for us, as you've told us. Janice, do you think maybe this is a little too late?
I think it is too late. In a way, I'm happy to see it though. I'm really pleased because it at least I see that there is an effort there, the same as with the smoking label. Now you'll find all those warnings on the food labels in 2026 or sooner, and there'll still be people eating that food, just the same as the really disgusting pictures on the smoking packages and people still smoking. So the addiction can be so strong that those warnings won't make a difference. But I think it was about a year and a half ago or so, Canada's Food Guide shifted gears dramatically. And while it's not ideal, it's a lot better than it used to be. And I think it's a step in the right direction. So what I'd like to see is people take their health in their own hands, not wait for a label to tell them why they should or shouldn't eat that product. Is to do their own research, to become a smarter consumer so that they can understand what they're buying and move away from having a cupboard and a fridge full of packages and boxes and making their own chili and making their own, having oatmeal instead of Rice Krispies and not relying on a label to tell them if it's safe or not, learning how to feed their body properly. I think that as much as it is sad that our food has been denatured to the point that it doesn't serve our body anymore, it's very, very sad. And unfortunately, we rely on the government and officials in healthcare to change that and fix that for us and warn us against it. But it hasn't happened, and that's why my work is so important for people, because they're dying waiting for this type of information. But those who take it upon themselves to say, I'm tired of feeling awful, I'm not getting any help, I need some help, and what can I do to help myself? Just like I took my health in my hands way back when, instead of going with the fact that the doctor said, there's nothing you can do, you're lazy, good luck. And I have no doubt that if I had gone with that, I would be in a wheelchair today, but I took matters in my own hands. And I think before, while we're waiting for those labels, and I really don't know if they'll make that much difference, just like the smoking, I think it's important for people to take their health in their own hands and find someone they trust and get some answers and vote with your dollar. That's another step that we can do is don't buy those products if they're toxic. If you know that product is not a good product and you'd like to see some change, then don't buy it anymore. And, this is why in the last 4 or 5 years, maybe, a lot of fast food companies have switched gears and they have created different menus because of the demand. And so when there's a demand, when money talks, and if you vote with your dollar, you're going to see some change. So.
Certainly, the information on food packaging labels has greatly improved from years ago. But do you find that the clients you speak to, the women you speak to, are trying to educate themselves more about what that information actually means as they consume those products and what it means to their bodies?
Yes, for sure. And a lot of them, by the time they hire me to help them, they are a bit more aware already. They are, reading labels. They are trying to do meal prep and make food from scratch and looking for quick recipes, doing a bit of batch cooking, so that they can set themselves up for success, so that they don't have to run into the store or to the, in the drive-through and pick up something that is toxic. So there is an effort there for women, either, women who live on their own or with a spouse, or who have teenagers or young kids, to make more of an effort to eat well. And I think that the driving force behind that is that they don't feel well and they're tired of not feeling well. There was a book, I think it was called Sick and Tired of Being Sick and Tired. And so once there's a connection, or they understand that there's a connection between what I eat and how I feel, then there's a bit more of a drive to try to make some changes and to grocery shop a little differently, and maybe use the term moderation as, maybe eat out, take out once a week rather than every other day, or one chocolate bar a week rather than a couple a night, or, like I used to eat a big bag of chips almost every night. And now, I'll go 3, 4, 5 months and then maybe have a small bowl. So there is an effort there being made to switch gears, because people are tired of not getting answers, or wanting to not take another pill, come off of the medication they're on safely, and they're realizing that the food connection is where the answers are.
So as we know, many women are trying to balance full-time employment plus raising a family and all the things that go with that. But do you find that many of your clients are having a difficult time balancing all that's there and trying to lead a healthy lifestyle at the same time?
It is a difficult balance, and it is, those who really do make the effort have great results. But it does take a little bit of, if you live by yourself and you work full time, or if you live with a family and you work full time and then you have all that other thing, it does take some organization. Sometimes it takes, hiring a house cleaner, or hiring someone who can, run the kids around, or just whatever that person needs. But where, from what I've seen, and in really questioning the habits of my clients, from what I've seen, sadly, there's a lot of wasted time that they don't realize exists. So, and that is social media and TV. So, that's one place that often even the busiest person will admit that, yes, you're right. I could, spend a bit more time chopping vegetables rather than scrolling Facebook or, and I'm not saying everybody does this, but when you really look at your hours in the day and how you spend them, there's usually some time there that is not spent well. And when the energy for better health is there and you're really gung ho, you'll find women find the time, and all of a sudden they're so much healthier and happier that they realize how they've kind of let things go, and they don't really want to do those, they want to keep doing the good things. They want to keep prepping their meals, and if they have kids, a lot of them will get the kids involved, or they'll ask if they're the main cook in the family, they'll ask their spouse to do the chopping for whatever they're making, and get everyone, as many of the people that they live with, on board as possible to make it work. And again, when the desire to change is there, we usually find a way, whether it's getting a medical degree or learning to play the piano, or finding time in your day to do a bit of meal prep.
One thing that I can say for myself is that I'm a bit of a stress eater, but it's not snacking, it's meals. I tend to cook comfort foods and eat them. Portion control obviously is one of my downfalls, but these last 2.5 years have been extremely stressful. So unfortunately, I think everybody's kind of packed on a few extra pounds. But that all being said, what are some of the easy, quick wins that people can do to help themselves?
Yeah, sure. Since post-COVID, it's reported that between 42 and 61% of people reported weight gain, and the average weight gain was 29 pounds or something like that. So quick wins is to swap things out. That would be where I would start. Have a look at what you're doing, what you're eating, and then do some smart swapping. For instance, if you're eating boxed cereal, and once your boxed cereal runs out, buy instant oatmeal and start there and eat oatmeal. And then maybe eventually you'll go to a slow cook oatmeal. Get rid of whatever sodas you might drink. Maybe, switch to the carbonated water with flavoring. And even if it's half and half, that's progress. So maybe for the really busy person, it's buying pre-cooked chicken and salad in a bag that you can make a quick meal. Having raw nuts and seeds on hand, so that if you're driving the kids around, or if you're working late and you miss a meal, you have something to eat, so that you don't go home starving and eat too much, or eat too much of the wrong things. So setting yourself up for success in the kitchen by having lots of fruit and vegetables on hand, and maybe chopping them up, doing up your carrot sticks and things like that. That's a good idea. Even switching your microwave popcorn to air popcorn would be a big thing, because the toxins in microwave popcorn are a very dangerous product. And so swapping out what you have with something healthier, and then your taste buds adjust. And then as you do that, and that can take months to do that, but that's okay, because as you move along, you're learning, your taste buds adjust and you're feeling better. And then when you link the two, it's easier, and you get into the momentum of it. And then all of a sudden your diet looks completely different than it used to, and you feel great.
So you were the 2022 winner of the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition Clinical Excellence Award. Wow, that's a mouthful in itself. So, so tell us about how that came all about and what this really means for you.
Well, I was nominated for that award. I'm a graduate of the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition, and every year they have awards at their annual conference. And I was nominated by a peer, and I was chosen as the winner, and I was so thrilled because and it means so much to me because I work very hard to build my business, and every client that I have helped has brought me to that award today. And I'm so passionate about what I do, and so it's a huge win for me because it means that I am on the right track. I'm helping my clients. I had to fill out an application form when I was nominated, and they wanted testimonials. So the testimonials that I have are clients who had rheumatoid arthritis and they have no more signs of it anymore. Clients who were able to get off of their blood pressure medication and their cholesterol medication so that they have great blood work now. Clients who no longer identify as being a type 2 diabetic. Clients who no longer have, well, menopause is a big one. So, breeze through menopause with a change of diet. So all of those testimonials is a reflection of the work that I help my clients do. They're the ones that do the work. I guide them and I support them. And so, this award, I want to hug it every day because that's what it shows. It really is. The award should be my clients getting that award because they're doing the work and they're guides. So it's very special to me.
But their success is your success. That's how teamwork works.
Exactly. Yeah.
Are your consultations primarily with women? We've been talking a lot about women in general, but I mean, do you have male clients as well?
I do have male clients. I do. They are primarily women, but I do have male clients. Yes, and what I've noticed over the last maybe 3 years or so is men are changing their approach to their health too. And that's a good thing because, they might be the ones who are saying, okay, guys, let's do some shopping tonight and let's make up a bunch of meals. And when there's a man in the household that's doing that, especially if they never did before, if they're concerned about their health, then they're going to be more supportive in the household. And anyone, male, female, who has children, they are influencing the health and future of their children. So I think it's amazing when I get a team, a couple who is working on their health together. That's really a fun consultation and work that I do with them because it's a team effort, and again, everyone in the household wins when both both spouses are involved.
Janice, how can your holistic nutritional approach relate to cancer, and how can it help folks that are diagnosed with various cancers?
Great question. The thing about today's North American diet is that it creates inflammation in the body. Sugar creates inflammation, and that usually leads to some trouble of some kind, heart disease, of course, blood pressure. It leads to weight gain. It leads to anxiety, depression. It leads to type 2 diabetes. And when the body is under so much stress, it doesn't work well. And that can lead to cancer if it's already there and kind of brewing and maybe never would have developed into very much, when we are not healthy, then nothing works well, and that's how tumors grow. There is a lot of controversy on the term sugar feeds cancer. There are people who don't believe it at all, and there's people who do. And whether it's directly or indirectly, sugar is not good for cancer. And so when we have this type of way we eat, plus all the chemicals in our food, we have we're basically setting ourselves up for anything that we might be prone to. And 95% of what we have going on in our body is lifestyle. And if we have a genetic predisposition, it's only 5 or so percent. So if that's cancer and you're feeding your body so poorly, you may end up developing cancer. Plus, smoking is not good, of course, and stress is not good. So, indirectly or directly, sugar can lead to various types of cancer, as can too much dairy and too much animal products, chemicals in food, genetically modified food. The list goes on and on. So smoking, I said that already. So when you see people who have cancer and they change their diet, change their lifestyle, and can see some improvements, then that's just proof that it can be done. And food is very powerful. Our body wants to be well, and when it's not getting what it needs, it tells us, and cancer is one of those things that can happen to us. So,
Janice, I wanted to ask you if someone wants to book a consultation, what's the easiest way to reach you?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. The easiest way to reach me is probably through my website, which is janiceamirault.com. They can, if they're on Facebook, they can find me there at Janice Amirault, and my email address is janice@janiceinspiringchange.com. I do offer a clarity call for anyone who wants to have a conversation. I can learn a little bit more about what it is that is going on with their health, and we can talk about whether it makes sense for us to work together, what their goals are, and of course it's a complimentary call. So
this has been interesting and educational. Janice, thanks so much for the chat today.
Thank you so much for inviting me to chat with you. It's been a pleasure. Thanks so much.
I'm Gary Nickerson.
And I'm Quinn Taggart.
And this has been Outside My Window.